Hello, and welcome back to Lead is to Learn, a podcast where we explore the dynamic world of leadership together. Whether you're a returning listener or joining us for the first time, I'm truly grateful you've chosen us as your companion upon your leadership development journey. Our mission here is simple: to empower you with the knowledge, skills, and insights needed to excel in leadership. But before we dive into today's episode, I want to express my sincere thanks to each one of you. Your trust in us means the world, and it's an honour to be part of your growth. Now, speaking of growth, did you know that To Lead is to Learn is brought to you by Lambda Solutions? At Lambda, we specialise in leadership development and coaching, and we're passionate about helping individuals like you become the best leaders you can be. If you're looking to take your leadership skills to the next level, or if your organisation is seeking guidance to achieve its leadership goals, I invite you to explore what we have to offer. Simply visit our website at www.thelambda.co.uk to discover more about how we can assist you directly. Thank you for being part of our community. Now, let's dive into today's episode and continue learning and growing together. Hello, and welcome back to Lead is to Learn, the podcast where we explore different leadership styles and psychological concepts, and how they can be applied to our leadership practices. I'm your host, Chris Waters, and in today's episode, we'll be exploring the concept of accountable leadership. To start with, we must understand the difference between responsibility and accountability. Responsibility is having a duty to deal with something within your power or having control over someone within your charge. Accountability is an assurance that an individual or organisation is evaluated on its performance or behaviour related to something for which it is responsible. Responsibility, therefore, is a personal obligation and is part of your role or who you are. A responsibility can be owned or allocated. For example, you can take or give responsibility. It is an act and as such is carried out or followed through on, whereas accountability is a guarantee or promise that the responsibility will be carried out and an acceptance that when it isn't, there will be consequences. There are three layers to consider here: ownership, delegation, and empowerment. These correlate with the level of insecurity held by the leader. The first layer, ownership, occurs under insecure leadership. Here, a leader displays very little trust in their team, and as such, they hold all the power and therefore the responsibility. They hold themselves accountable only to those in superior positions, and often actually attribute any failures to those in their charge. This is a toxic form of leadership. However, it is often one we can all fall into when we neglect our self-leadership, and therefore neglect to build our self-assurance and security. When a leader becomes more self-assured, they learn the power of delegation. This becomes the second layer, where responsibilities are assigned to others. In doing so, some of the power is allocated to members of their team, and with it, the leader begins to hold them accountable. However, when it comes to superiors, the leader still retains the successes, whilst often attributing failures to those in their charge. This form of leadership still holds a level of insecurity, as they find it hard to let go of successes and own failures for responsibilities which they have delegated to others. The final layer, empowerment, occurs only with secure leadership. Here, responsibilities are still assigned to others. However, with them comes legitimate power. The leader doesn't solely hold their team accountable, but instead joins them in the accountability. They hold themselves and their teams jointly accountable for the success or failures. When it comes to superiors, the leader retains accountability for any failures, yet bestows successes to their team. In doing so, they acknowledge the true responsibility of a leader, and therefore what they are accountable for, and that is taking care of those in their charge and facilitating an environment conducive to success. Within this layer of empowerment, there are therefore two ways in which they are held accountable. The first is to their team, those in their charge. This accountability is a promise to create the conditions necessary and provide the resources which are required to be successful. This is an act of service to those in their charge. The second is an accountability for their leadership to those in superior positions. This is a duty to protect their team, to own failures and bestow success. This is an act of humility and integrity on behalf of those in your charge. When a leader utilizes empowerment over delegation, they accept that they are answerable for any failures, be these actions or decisions, which are made by the team. However, they also accept that they must acknowledge the successful contributions of those in their team. After all, as a leader, we have the final veto on all decisions, and we therefore acknowledge and agree with good decisions, or we failed in picking up on poor decisions. So the good decisions are owned by those who made them, and not picking up on and correcting the poor decisions is down to us. This empowerment, with its effective allocation of responsibilities and level of accountability, creates a culture of trust and transparency, which inspires those within their charge to perform at their best. This also promotes growth and development, both in yourself as a leader and those in your charge. When a leader reaches the level of self-assurance and security that they can empower the members of their team, they display effective allocation of responsibilities and level of accountability to everyone in their organization. When this is done, and the leader holds themselves accountable for their decisions and actions, it sets an expectation and an example to the others in the organization, creating a culture of ownership where others are encouraged to take the initiative, solve problems, and bestow successes where they are deserved. So, how can we achieve this effective empowerment? Firstly, a leader must provide clear goals and expectations to their team of both the responsibilities they are bestowing and those which they are retaining, by sharing what the leader expects of others as well as what they should expect of the leader. This ensures that their team has a clear understanding of what to expect from the leader and what they individually need to achieve, and ultimately, how their work contributes to the overall mission. This gives their work purpose and meaning, providing them with a why, and reassuring them that their work is going to be acknowledged and celebrated. Secondly, a leader must provide their team with an environment and the resources conducive to success. They must ensure that what they are expecting the members of their team to achieve is actually achievable. All goals and targets which are set must be obtainable and realistic, given the support and resources which are being provided. If your team feel that the goals or targets are unobtainable or unrealistic, they will not feel motivated to achieve them, and they will begin to lose trust in you as a leader. There are many ways in which we as leaders can help our teams to meet ambitious targets or goals, such as training, tools and systems, as well as honest and actionable feedback. Thirdly, we must be consistent in our accountability framework with our team. We must have regular check-ins with each member of the team, as well as the team as a whole. Here, we must not only provide feedback which they can action, but also seek feedback from them on what we must action. We must acknowledge and praise achievements and own failures publicly with both our teams and those in more senior positions. there must be consequences for persistent low performance, both of those in our teams as well as ourselves. We must be prepared to face up to our shortcomings and show that we are prepared to change, grow, and improve ourselves as an example for others to do the same. When we are consistent in this, our team members and seniors know what to expect from us and therefore feel more comfortable and confident to take risks, develop, and ultimately perform and succeed. One of the most important currencies of empowerment is trust. As we have explored before, a leader must always start by bestowing absolute trust to their team. They must lead with the approach that trust in their team is present and can only be lost. However, at the same time, they must also take the approach that trust in them from their team is absent, and they must work to earn it. How can this earning of trust be achieved? Well, the first pillar of trust is proof. A leader needs to prove that they are trustworthy. Therefore, they need to provide consistent examples that they can be trusted. This can be achieved within one-to-ones, by following through on promises which are made, and by owning failures and bestowing successes. The second pillar of trust is humility. A leader cannot be arrogant or self-centered. They need to show humbleness and humility through action. They need to act with integrity at all times. This means being humble, even when no one from the team is watching, especially in the presence of those more superior. The third pillar of trust is dealing with failures. A leader must be willing to change and adapt in the face of failure. They need to acknowledge the part they played in the failure and show a willingness to learn, change, and develop. This builds trust that you as the leader have the best interests of the team at heart, and being willing to change your approach demonstrates this and sets the example for them to do the same. Ultimately, we need to ask ourselves, why would they want to change if we are unwilling to do so ourselves? As always, I want to leave you with a few questions to reflect upon. 1. Have you ever worked with a leader who struggled with effectively bestowing responsibility and empowering you through accountability? How did this impact your motivation, the quality of the work you produced, that of your team, and the organization as a whole? 2. What steps could you take from today to model effective accountability as a leader, even in the face of insecurity or uncertainty? And 3. How can you create a culture of effective accountability within your team or organization? How can you empower your team members to take ownership of their work and results? And what benefits might this bring? And until next time, remember, to lead requires us to continuously